Good morning again. Hi, I'm Lisa Lightner. I always say I say good morning, but I don't know if you all are listening in the morning. I record mostly in the morning. Welcome to Don't IEP Alone. I am Lisa Lightner. What I want to talk about today, or what we're going to talk about today, is good news, bad news. I want to answer the question: what can I ask for on my IEP? Because I know I say this about a lot of things, but seriously, and being an advocate now for 15 years and having talked personally with literally thousands of parents, there are probably only about five like main kind of questions that parents ask, and they all like I could seriously put them all in in their own file. It's just different variations and different specifics and details, but it's the same question. And one of those is, what can I ask for on my IEP? And this one is so fun because when people meet me somewhere, like if they don't even really know me or they know who I am, or somebody like we're somewhere and somebody introduces me and they go, "Oh, this is Lisa Lightner and she's a special ed advocate." Oh, really? Great. My son has this. And like, what can I ask for on my IEP? And I get emails all the time, DMs. My IEP meeting's tomorrow. What can I ask for on my IEP? And I'm like, oh, like, listen, I am like the worst person to ask this question because I will completely drown you with information. So let's get to the bad news first in answering that question. The bad news is that there's no list. And I find that parents think that there's a list, particularly when their child is moving like from preschool to kindergarten, moving up to middle school, moving to high school, kind of like those bigger building moves, grade moves, things like that. Parents think that there's this list of, if they could just show me what's available, right? Like it's an a la carte menu. It's not. So I need to sit still. Why am I so fidgety? It's not. It's not an a la carte menu. There's no list. Or if they have a list, they're not ever going to show it to you. Because one of the main principles of IDEA is that concept of individualization or individualized. And so if they presented you with a list, that would be too limiting. They can't limit you to like, oh, you want a placement? Oh, here, pick from this list. Same thing when I find when parents are, again, their child is moving up to middle school or high school, or if they're new to an IEP, the child's been struggling for a while and now it's third, fourth, fifth, sixth grade, child gets an IEP and like they're heading into their first meeting and they're like, oh, like, what can I ask for? If I could just see this list. Again, the bad news is there's no list because that's too limiting. If you want a list, I've got hundreds of them on my website that you can browse for ideas. Just go to adayinourshoes.com and you'll see it all there. If you're talking about placements, that's something you're going to have to research yourself in your area. The thing is that when it comes to advocacy, you're going to have to become the expert in your child and their condition. So depending on what flavor of autism your child has or what kind of dyslexia your child has, you're going to need to become the expert in that and knowing what interventions, what accommodations, and so on work for a child like yours. The schools see all kinds of kids and they truly may have not seen a child like yours before. And so they may want to put him in a bucket and say, well, for kids with ADHD, we do this. Our autism support classroom does this. And so that might be appropriate for your child, but you are going to have to, again, become the expert in your child so that you know what to ask for and you know what works. The second piece of that, of course, is knowing how to ask for it, right? We can all go to these conferences, and I've gone to many myself, where you go to these conferences and they just like show you all these amazing things that are available right now for this particular disability. And you're just like, wow, that's so amazing. Like, I went to this AT conference one time and they like had this giant table, and it was I'm telling you, it was like the size of a dining room table, but it was actually like a PEX board, but it was digital. And I was just like, oh my God, that's so amazing. Like, it was like $12,000 or something like that. Right. So you can go to conferences and you can get these pie in the sky ideas. Knowing how to ask for them and support them with data is going to be your next step. That's not something I can cover in an 8 or 10-minute podcast. That is something that you're going to have to dig in and do yourself. I teach it in my training. If you don't take my training, that's fine, but you're going to have to take training somewhere. You're going to have to learn how to effectively advocate with data and documentation. But anyway, so that's the bad news of there is no list, but you can create a list. Because the good news is, because of the main principle of IEPs being that individualized piece, the truth is you can ask for anything. The world is your oyster, as they say. The sky's the limit. If you can back it up with data and documentation, there are no limits to what you can ask for. And for as much as I share horror stories and nightmares that I encounter with clients, the truth is that over 15 years of advocacy, I have seen schools do some really pretty amazing things for kids. When you can make the case with data and documentation and you have a team that's on board, really cool things can happen. Your child's entitled to FAPE, free and appropriate education, free and appropriate public education. Okay, so there is no list, but you're not limited in what you can ask for. You can ask for anything. So when you see those pie in the sky interventions, when you go to a conference, when you see a news segment on TV, or one of those human interest stories that they show on the news of, they're doing this and they're doing this, you don't have to feel limited, like, oh, my school would never do that. They're probably going to say no the first time. Like, let me just tell you that, right? Like they go on autopilot. It's a response. It's like primal. They don't even think about it most of the time. The first time you request something, it's no. Like, you're going to be told no. Accept that. Accept that you're going to hear no and move past it. Move into data and documentation and making that case on paper. Okay? So what can you ask for in an IEP? You can ask for anything. Become the expert in your child, their condition, and learn how to back it up with data and documentation. Thank you for tuning in to my simple little podcast about IEPs. Go to adayinourshoes.com, where I do have tons and tons of lists of accommodations and interventions and strategies and things that work for kids. And you can browse those lists and say, okay, here are all these different reading interventions. Which one works for my kid's type of dyslexia? And start making the case for that. Okay? Please enjoy the rest of your day.